Okay. Hello, everyone. Um, Thank you for coming. Now, I'm gonna need you all. Some of you are on the other. Joe, if oh shoot, a lot of you guys are gonna be on the other live stream, so we may not have much of a live chat today. For some reason, Streamlabs is not working, and our paid account is not showing up, and so we have to. We're trying to run this, I'm running this the old school way through I can't even get rid of the talk studio. Anyway, yeah, here. So if you guys know how to go tell everybody that we're here at this link now instead of the other one, if anybody wants to go do that, that'd be great. So what are we doing today? Well, who am I? I'm Dr. Garrett Smith, also known as the nutrition detective around these here YouTube parts. I'm a little kerfluffled this morning because of the problems with Streamlabs. And for some reason, some of those days your brain is not working full on. So we'll see how this goes. But I usually come through anyway. So hello, Jackie, and hello, Baptized in Fire. I need to, gosh, I want to go delete that other. Here, let me go to the other chat. Hold on. Okay, so we're back. Oh, and now it says I'm disconnected from chat. Okay, well, whatever. It's a good thing. It's a good thing I've got my liver so good that I can laugh all this stuff off while I'm live with all you guys watching. So anyway, yeah. Tried to tell everybody to come over here and I can't even do that now. So what we're going to do today, I have a couple testimonials, just two to go over real quick. And then a special request from Jojo, also known as Zendog, was that I go over. He started a thread on the Love Your Liver network or program about my idioms, my aphorisms, my sayings, the short sayings, which are supposed to have a lot of oomph and a lot of wisdom and a lot of, do this or don't do this kind of knowledge behind them. And then if you don't, then you can look back at the saying and go, yeah, you said that, didn't you? And I'm like, yeah, I did. So we'll get into that. So let me go to the testimonials. Now, I can't share the testimonials because my trusty sidekick, Joe, can't help me live on this. I'm all alone. I'm so scared. Anyway, so I'll just read the testimonials to you. We have some pictures with them, but I can't show you the pictures because I don't know how to share my screen on this. I've actually never. Did I used to share my screen on this? I don't even remember. I haven't done it live on YouTube in so long now. I feel like I forget. Let me see. What is that? Oh, there's share screen. Okay. I have share screen. So let's go and do that. There it is. I can do it. Okay. So here we go. View. Let's do full screen. Okay. Let's make it a little bigger for everybody. Okay. So here's the first testimonial. Now, as I've said before, these testimonials, I don't do names on them. I don't do initials. If you wanted to know who these people were, or if you wanted to find out who they were and maybe private message them, you'd need to join the Love Your Liver program. You could search for these testimonials. That's where Sarah collects them for me each week, and you could find them and you could ask them. So if you have questions for these people, you would want to be in the Love Your Liver program, and then you could search for these and find them and maybe ask them questions. Okay, so here we go. First one, the bright side is that when he returned home in the middle of October, I was doing the Love Your Liver Rogue on YouTube, so she was just watching these free live streams, and both my husband and son saw results. Within 7 days, I was noticing my depression, bipolar, was better. The sun fiber started to decrease in my bloated gut. After 2 weeks, I noticed after a walk in the cold that I was not getting hives like I had for the past 20 years. Also, I used to have acne, and it's all cleared up now, and after 10 weeks, I don't feel depressed or bipolar anymore. My son is noticing and said after his 6-month try at raw vegan, he might be interested in trying what I am doing the cowboy diet with no rice, but barley flatbread. So, Joe, you calling me right now? Boy, this is gonna be a heck of a show. Let me see. Screen is black. Wow. Let me look. So I can see it, Joe. So that's great. I can see my YouTube. Is it on there? We're good. Okay. This is a cluster F today. But anyway, we'll be fine. So anyway, here's that testimonial. And now let me see. So I got to know if it switches back to the black screen. I got to know because I'm switching tabs because I can't read this and scroll. So is it black screen again or is it okay? Joe? Yeah. Okay. I think we're good. Okay. Fine. Okay. Wonderful. So for some reason, it took it a while to come through. Okay. Here we go. Now, there are 3 letters in this testimonial that I'm not going to actually say. You can read them on the testimonial. It's something called the universal antidote. If you go searching for like a Telegram group on that, it is an oxidizing agent, and it can be very helpful to oxidize the toxins that we don't want, like, I don't know, vitamin A. So I'm going to read this, and I'm not going to say the letters because that can get people in trouble because, gosh, they would hate to have a universal antidote that can help with so many things. And then if we say it's an oxidizing agent, then that would kind of ruin the whole theory of antioxidants, the health theory of antioxidants, which is complete garbage and has been proven wrong. You do need antioxidants in your system. You just don't need to eat a crap load of them from plants. Okay. Hey, everyone, I have a long time coming success story using ... My husband got this black stripe on his thumbnail and he said it hurt. Pictures above. The pictures are actually after. I'll get to those. I don't have a picture of it when it started, but it looked just like a black stripe. We were overly concerned it was subungual melanoma after Dr. Google threw us over the edge. Dr. Google is not very nice. Then it changed into green with a touch of red, very unnerving. We consulted with 3 doctors and 2 of the 3 said it was either fungus or bacterial. The treatment was going to be a crapshoot to try an antibiotic. The doctor said he had what they call green nail syndrome. I guess it's a real thing. You can look it up. My husband just wanted it to go away, so he filled the prescription and we went home. I said, are you sure we can't try something like ... and see if it works before you throw your gut health upside down? Very good suggestion. He was willing to give it a go, so we found a recipe on the ... treatments for fungus/infections, and he soaked his thumb twice daily with a mix of activated ... and water for about 6 to 8 weeks. His pain went away, and then he lost his nail, which is your body will tend to lose the nail so it can rebuild a new one. This is the thing, folks. A lot of things in your body when they're healing, the body doesn't fix the broken stuff. It just replaces it with new stuff. It will eat away at the old stuff. It will digest the old stuff, break apart the old stuff, whether you want to call it apoptosis or whatever. It will break down the old stuff and build new stuff. It doesn't tend to try to fix old broken things. It's like totaling a car. The body just says, that's totaled. We just got to start new. His pain went away and then he lost his nail. I assured him he would get a new nail because I lost one from an injury years ago and grew a new one. Also, hey, I think she means hey as in hey, H-E-Y, the body is self-healing. Praise God and ... because he is healed and has a bright and shiny nail. And the photos. So let's just look at the photos real quick. So here was, they didn't have it when it started, but we got green. We got the old black line. That was before. This is the new nail now. Looks like a normal nail. And that was when he was obviously, I think he was losing the nail there. It was coming off. So why would an oxidizing agent work on something like this nail? because it's toxins in the nail that the body's not clearing out. So sometimes you have to go right after it. You're doing topical approaches to get the stuff in there because the blood flow to your nails basically sucks. That's why so many nail treatments are topical. How do we get the blood flow to these places better? Well, one of the ways is by decalcifying all those blocked up blood vessels via things like magnesium, maybe some K2 if your symptoms match it, and not doing things that calcify you into a statue like vitamin A and vitamin D and excessive amounts of copper. That's that. So that is the testimonial. So let's get into the aphorisms. You know what? I'm going to show the paper that the doc I made because I don't want to keep looking back and forth. So let me share that, and I'll make sure we have a screen first. There we go. Got 5 pages of these things. Man, I talk a lot. Okay. So I can see it now, and we'll head through these. I didn't put these in any order. Actually, I got these out of the Love Your Liver thread that JoJo started, and I just put them on here. I didn't have enough time to organize them this morning. This has not been the best morning for the live stream, but we will power through because that's what we do. Okay. One of my more famous sayings. Now, not all of these sayings are mine. I'm not trying to take credit for all of these. And some of them I don't know. I'll tell you where I got them from if I know. And if I don't, I'm not trying to steal any credit from anybody. I just don't remember. And it may have been handed down for a very long time. So, think ahead 201. Can someone tell you what bad can happen after eating raw liver? What you get is you get vitamin A toxicity and you get copper toxicity and maybe manganese toxicity. And then you get whatever else toxicity is in that liver from toxic metals and forever chemicals and microplastics and all that stuff. There is no such thing as clean liver these days. There is no pure cow, and any toxins that cows are exposed to, they store that in their liver. Having it raw only means that it's not oxidized yet. But the body oxidizes vitamin A and other toxins to break them down, to detox them. So the difference, the people out there who are arguing about raw liver versus cooked liver, like the Ogenus nutcases, the Ogenus like cultists, absolutely bonkers, those people. They'll say, well, nobody's done a study on raw, clean liver. And I say, that's because there is no such thing as clean liver. It's a toxin storage depot. So anyway, don't eat liver. I have I have 3 threads on Twitter. I'm not going to go find the links right now, but I have links on Twitter showing animals getting sick from eating liver, humans getting sick from eating liver, and a whole thread on toxicity of organ meats, liver, and kidneys, and all that stuff in multiple countries, multiple types of animals in terms of wild, grass-fed, conventional, pastured, whatever. So I have all that stuff. So don't eat organs. That's the key thing. No organs. We don't eat organs. I'm not going to say any of them are safe. If you have a toxic animal, you have a toxic animal. And that means all of it's toxic. I mean, if you were choosing to eat organs, then the ones that are muscles by nature are the only ones that you choose to do. So like heart, but then if you get, a lot of people have seen hearts and they got yellow fat around them. That's toxic fat. Like that's super toxic fat. So generally, organs are trash or food for your pets if you don't really like your pets that much. But you want to save some money. So anyway, okay. The poison always wins. That's the first one we'll do. The poison always wins means that like some people out there are thinking, like I saw a video on Instagram once. This one guy's like, well, I know that alcohol's not good for me, but I'm going to drink it and I'm going to take this magic supplement that makes my ALDH run faster so I can enjoy it and do. No, the alcohol is still, if you put mercury in your body, oh, but I'm going to take selenium and I'm going to take a chelator with it. I'm going to take chelating agents so I can eat fish and take selenium and all this stuff. Or then people will say the biggest lie ever told. Oh, fish has selenium in it, so the mercury is not a problem. That's a lie sold to you by the salmon sellers. No. Toxin comes into your body. It's doing damage. As soon as it's in there, it's doing damage, right? You wouldn't let a robber into your house to try to catch them, right? You keep them out of your house so you don't have to deal with the outcome of whatever they did. They could just start running around your house with a baseball bat, just breaking stuff. They didn't steal anything. They just broke stuff. So toxins that you do not take in do not have to be detoxed, and they also don't cause damage. This should be obvious. So if you are taking in poisons, people who think they're going to outrun their medications or their toxic supplements by taking other things, a big example would be all the people who think that taking vitamin K2 protects you from the rat poison D3 supplements. And so you should always take them together. No, the vitamin D will win in the end. And we have tons of people, any of you who are in the live chat, who want to say, oh yeah, I tried the D3 and K2 thing and it didn't work like everybody said. And when they got off the D, they felt better. Feel free to comment that in the comments or in the chat after you're done. I tried it. It didn't work. It doesn't work. So that is the poison always wins. You're not going to outrun, you're not going to out antidote poisons. Okay. So poison on the way in, poison on the way out. So this is the idea. So when poisons, toxins are in your bloodstream, that is when you're going to feel them the most. How do poisons get into our bloodstream? Well, they get into your bloodstream from toxic leaky bile mostly, because if the liver was caught up and doing its job well, it would have grabbed all that stuff, put it into your bile, and you would have pooped it out. Okay, anonymous guest said they confirmed that D3 and K2 felt better stopping this. Yeah. Don't buy D3 and K2 combo supplements. Oh, hello, Beth. Nice to have you here. I did a podcast. If you guys want to see a podcast on women's health, I just did one with Beth the other week. So Beth, if you want to link that or give ideas of how to find that, whatever you can do in the live chat that YouTube lets you, go ahead. So poison on the way in, poison on the way out. When it comes into you, okay? Like if you saw my weight loss and toxicity video, whereas people were losing weight, the toxins were coming out of their blood. The toxins were coming out of their fat into the blood. Toxins were going up in the blood. And they were theorizing that this is why people's weight loss stops, is because you keep dumping more and more toxins into the blood until it suppresses your thyroid function and ability to burn fat enough. And then your body really doesn't want those toxins in the blood, so it then reabsorbs them into the fat. And you have less body fat, but it is more concentrated in toxins. And they showed this with biopsies and testing. Oh, Lilium says, took D3 and K2 for years. Once I stopped, I can get out of bed without being so stiff. Poison always wins. Vitamin D is much stronger than K2. Why take the rat poison if you don't need it? What do you need to make vitamin D? You need protein, like muscle meat. You need magnesium. You need zinc. And sunlight or ultraviolet light, UVB. Okay, that's what you need to make vitamin D. You do not need rat poison pills, also known as false light, sunlight in a pill. You don't need it. Just skip the poison. Jiminy Christmas. I've posted multiple papers on Twitter showing that vitamin D over time causes osteoporosis, folks. Let me just say this again. Vitamin D supplements raise the calcium in your bloodstream. They're going to do that regardless. If an excess of vitamin D, let's say a child was fed over fortified milk with vitamin D in it. This has killed children before. When they accidentally over fortified milk. And then when they used to fortify other products in, I think it was the 40s or the 50s. I have that article on my Twitter. They were finding children were dying from the vitamin D they were fortifying foods with. So yeah, vitamin D kills people. It's not just rat poison, it's people poison. How does vitamin D kill rats? How does it kill children or dogs? Excess calcium in the bloodstream, hypercalcemia. Where do you think that if they're taking vitamin D and they're not taking calcium with it, but yet their calcium goes so high in the blood that it could kill them or ruin their kidneys, where did that calcium come from? Their bones. It's yanking calcium out of your bones. Vitamin A has been shown to be associated with osteoporosis as the doses go over 3,000 units a day. Those two things, vitamin A and vitamin D, cause osteoporosis. And then people will be like, take the vitamin K2 to keep the calcium where it's supposed to stay. How about we use our brain and we don't take the thing that's yanking calcium out of your bones in the first place? Let's use the big brain strats, okay? Okay. So poison on the way in, poison on the way out. You take in some poison, whether it's through your mouth, whether it's through absorbing toxic crap through your skin, like cosmetics or other nastiness you're putting on your skin that you think is good for you, or it smells nice or whatever. It's going into your bloodstream, and that's where it's going to come in and cause symptoms. So that's the poison on the way in. It's coming in. Some of it's going to spill out through your liver. It's like there's little leaks everywhere, and it's going to get into your bloodstream. You're going to feel bad. Okay. Like, let's say you walk down the detergent aisle at the grocery store and you smell all these toxic scents and you get a headache and you quickly leave that aisle because you're like, this sucks. I got to get out of here. So you go. And then a while later, the headache goes away. So you were breathing in those toxins. You were absorbing them through your lungs. Your lungs are designed to absorb things. They absorb everything, just like your gut and your skin absorb things. This is why it's so important to avoid toxins, because we are absorbing machines. We are not keep things out machines. We are absorbing machines. So, is that a new saying I just made right now? We're not keep things out things. We're absorbing things. Anyway, so it gets in you, and then it's in your bloodstream causing you headaches. How do you think it gets up to your brain and your head to cause you headaches? It's in your bloodstream. Your body then over time will either process some of it via the liver and try to put it out in the bile. Okay, may get rid of some of it via the kidneys. But a lot of those things, they're fat soluble. They're going to get stored in your body fat. That's anytime you see the word fat soluble, just change it to fat storable. I don't know why this is so difficult for so many of my haters. They're just like, no, it's fat. No, like you're not trying. Whenever I see anything that's like rich in fat soluble nutrients, I'm like, that's toxic. Because once you realize that vitamin A is not good for you and vitamin D is not good for you and vitamin E is not good for you, boy, that whole fat soluble nutrients thing just flies out the window now, doesn't it? So let's say, so remember in that weight loss and toxicity live stream that I talked about, which is only like, I don't know, 5 or 10 back, the fats will release the toxins into the bloodstream. You ever wonder why people often feel so terrible on diets? Is it just because they're not eating enough? Or are they self-poisoning by dumping toxins from their fat into their bloodstream? So it's a poison on the way out, like they could get rid of some of it. When you start detoxing and you're emptying your stores, it comes out into the blood. And that's when you get symptoms. So poison on the way in to be stored, poison on the way out of storage. And this is why, people think detox is like all just fun and games and stuff. Or they either think detox is like, it just happens and you're fine, or detox is like, let's take a bunch of herbs and laxatives and crap our brains out and we're detoxing. Or drink a quarter cup of olive oil or Epsom salts or whatever and explosive diarrhea everywhere. No. So that's that. Somebody was asking me about like trying to pump more, or they said, is there something we can do to clean the bile out of the blood? And if you don't know about toxic bile theory, yet again, episodes 53 and 71. That's somebody was saying that was actually one of my saying. Go watch episodes 53 and 71. Yeah, sort of. But they asked if there was some way of filtering the bile out of the blood. Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm going to say plasmapheresis and, and possibly dialysis. Possibly. However, you would clean that bile out of your blood, go home, and the next day, you're going to dump more bile that's going to leak into your blood. So if somebody is not doing a daily thing, this is why I'm not doing like the gallbladder flushes or the coffee enemas so much. Yeah, they move out that little bit of bile, but the key thing is your daily approach. The things we do every day are the things that make us what we are, not inducing diarrhea once in a while. Okay. So there's that. Next. If you're going to be dumb, you better be tough. I say this a lot for the people who, especially you younger men out there, people like to think that they can handle more suffering than other people who have come before them. They're just like, oh, I'm suffering so bad. But Dr. Smith says that if you can handle it, you can do it if you choose to. And whatever. So they decide to push. Now, first, remember, when you people are coming to me, when you are coming for my help and you're joining the Love Your Liver program and you're working with me and all this stuff, I want you to remember that the toxicity within you is why you came for help. You feel bad because of the toxicity that's already running around inside of you. You're complaining about it. You're like, this sucks. I want to fix this. Okay. And now people go, oh, well, I know Dr. Smith says to go slow, to start slow, to do one thing at a time and do all this. But I'm impatient. I'm greedy. I'm just going to do it all at once and go high dose. I'm going to max with 2 X's or whatever. I'm going to max everything. And I tell them, if you're going to be dumb, you better be tough. And they usually come back later. Yeah, Dr. Smith, I kicked my own ass. I know you said not to do it, but I thought I could handle it. How many parents out there are like their kids, like, I thought I could do it. And you're like, yeah, kind of told you not to do that, didn't I? And the kid's like, yeah. So I don't mind saying I told you so. It's if you're going to be dumb, you better be tough. If sometimes people, because the internet amplifies Dunning-Kruger effect so much, people don't realize that, like, I've been doing, so I have pretty darn good pattern recognition skills. And I have 18 years of doing this whole naturopathic doctoring thing. And then I have 12 years of personal training before that. So you're still dealing with people. You're still watching patterns, how they respond to things. And so that's 30 years of me establishing patterns. So when I get the young, dumb, and full of guys who come in, they're just like, oh, I'm going to kick this program's ass. And I'm like, okay, you're here because the toxicity's already kicking your ass, but you go right ahead. I'll be here. This is another saying that we go over later. I'll be here waiting. I'll be here when you're done. Yeah, anonymous guest said, yeah, I was dumb/tough for the first 6 weeks. Then it was time to listen. That's how this goes. We are like different types of cars. We're all cars. This is just a good analogy. Like, we're all cars. So we all need gasoline. We all need oil. We all need spark plugs. We all need the basic things for like an internal combustion engine. And no, I'm not going to talk about electric cars because those are just of the devil. Anyway, if you look at a semi truck versus a little compact car, like the parts are completely different. Everything in the engine is completely different, and they're good at different things. They're still an internal combustion engine. They still operate on the same principles. One can tow a lot of stuff. One can get really far on a tank of gas. Which one are you? Maybe you have an idea, like people who are like, I'm extra sensitive to things. Okay. And then you have the other people, the sledgehammers, who are like, I don't feel anything. And then I remind them, you're here because you feel bad. So you do feel something. You just haven't gotten to the point where you can distinguish day to day very well. As we get people better, they start becoming better able to distinguish. But also, the less you feel, the more testing is important. So, well, that's actually this one. We kind of just went over this one, that everyone is different. The next one. Yeah, let me go. Oh, not that one. Everyone is different. Okay, let me do that. Okay. But I just went over that with the car thing. So it's like everyone's different, but we're all sort of the same. So the idea here is like some guys are like, well, vitamin A is good for me. And I'm like, no. And then when we show that like people can be fine on 0 vitamin A, what that does mean is that nobody needs it. People are not that different that like all of a sudden, oh, this car needs oil and this car doesn't. No. You either need it or you don't. And if anybody alive can function without vitamin A, which has been shown multiple times now, nobody needs it. So that's kind of the car analogy there. Next one. This is not actually the way I say it. This is the way Jojo put it. Anything can cause anything. Anything can cause anything and anyone at any time. That's a lot of innies. So I'm sorry, March Fast. I just want to make sure. Are you suggesting that I'm a fan of communism? I would like to know. I would like a direct answer, so I can see if you stay or not. So, anything can cause anything. I got this from Dr. Eric Cobb. He's a chiropractor. He created Z Health, which is a joint mobility type thing. I did several of his courses. I liked the stuff. It just wasn't very usable. So he said anything can cause anything. So he was like, just if you do something to somebody and weird stuff happens, he's like, anything can cause anything. So, and I took that, and I was, other people were like, well, a lot of people at the start have trouble with this concept. It's like, what do you mean anything can cause anything? Well, think about it. If you put the wrong oil in the wrong car, you cause it problems. It's still oil, but it's the wrong oil or the wrong gas. So it's all gas and oil, but it's the wrong one. So then one car breaks down and one car works better. There are fine-tuning things. And so the key thing about this is it doesn't matter if you take something or you do something. This is a very key thing. And you feel bad on it. That's all you need to know. Don't either do less or don't do it, or you're not ready yet. That's it. Now that's very different. I'm going to jump ahead on one of the sayings, which is then people will say, but I feel good on vitamin A. I feel good on coffee. I feel good on this. You feeling good on something. So this is the saying, crackheads love crack. That doesn't mean it's good for them. So just because somebody's like, oh my gosh, I eat liver and I have this crazy buzz and I feel so much energy. Okay, here's a pro tip. Lots of toxins are stimulants. Stimulants generally feel good. Like that's why they're so popular. That's why everyone is drinking coffee and energy drinks. My 13-year-old son is telling me about kids at school drinking energy drinks. They're 13. And my son's like, I don't know why they're doing it. They're so dumb. And I'm like, good job, buddy. So yeah, caffeine. Yeah. People are like, I feel better on caffeine. And you're like, no joke. I mean, lots of people might be like, I feel great on cocaine. Okay, cool. That's great. It's not good for you. I don't care. But that meth though, no, I mean, really. So yeah. But if you feel bad on something, that's what we need to avoid or minimize or take out for now. It doesn't matter if your doctor, your naturopath, your acupuncturist or whatever is like, oh, well, you tried it and you felt bad. Oh, just keep taking it. It'll get better with time. How many of you have heard that from your practitioners? Oh, just keep taking it. It'll get better. It'll go away. No, it doesn't. And then you know that. And then the practitioner loses a client because they don't listen. They don't really care what your experience is. They just want you to do the protocol. I've had people who have practitioners tell them, oh, you can't take these 3 supplements that I put you on because for estrogen dominance or for leaky gut or whatever. If you can't take them, I can't help you. Super helpful, doc. So yeah, that was actually, well, I'll go over that. One way to look at if you're not feeling good on a certain food, one of the things you can do for foods is I don't know if I've been over this before. You take a picture of the food in your phone. Half hour later, so you might need to set a timer. Half hour later, you're either going to take a thumbs up, you feel good, or a thumbs down, you don't feel good. And then over time, if you're eating like a variety of foods, you can look through those pictures and see which foods, which patterns you tend to do well with and which patterns you don't. And it's all right there in your phone. You don't have to remember anything. You look at the food, you look at the thumbs up or the thumbs down after it. Half hour. You'll figure out patterns on that. I did it once when I was doing it. And you can also use it to kind of smack yourself and be like, I knew I shouldn't eat that, but I just had to see it. I did that. I think it was like dairy. This was years ago when I learned this, like back when I first learned biofeedback stuff, gym movement type stuff. And I was doing that and I was like, oh, I knew I shouldn't eat that. But sometimes you got to see it on the screen. Okay. So now we're on to the next one. This is I kind of hit on these already. If it hurts when you do that, don't do that. Doc, it hurts when I do this. Well, then don't do that. We kind of covered that. So I'm not going to say much about this. If you don't feel good doing something, don't do it or do less, or maybe you're just not ready right now. Come back to it later. That's the order of adding stuff. We'll possibly do that as another show coming up soon. So yes, let me do the next one. Start low and go slow. Yes. You are an experiment of one. So if we just said anything can cause anything, it doesn't matter what the research says about 32% of people had this reaction. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is your reaction to it. That's it. So you are as they say, an N equals 1. You are an experiment of one. So yes, do I look at a lot of research? Yes, I do. And do I post a lot of research? Yes. And still, the weird thing is I seem to be one of the only guys out there who's like, oh, you didn't respond well to this? Oh, then don't do it. I'm the quickest one to be like, stop, back up. Don't do that anymore. I have people who come to me and ask me, they're like, I didn't feel good on this. Should I slow it down or stop or whatever? And I'm like, yes. And then people get it over time. So we start low in dosing. Like if you read the lactoferrin instructions that I link, I give pages of instructions on some of the supplements. Sunfiber has several pages of instructions. Lactoferrin has several pages of instructions. The secret supplement, when it comes out, will have several pages of instructions. And the biggest thing, we could summarize a lot of those instructions into start with a very, very small dose, like maybe even the dust. Lick your finger, get some dust, take it. That's it. Not even what they call a drop or a 64th of a teaspoon. Just take the smallest amount and make sure that you feel fine with it. And if you do, then on a regular basis, as long as everything's going okay, you can go up. Key thing is if you keep going up and you're getting worse symptoms, you missed the boat earlier, you didn't catch it, and you need to back off below the dose at when that thing started. And then we only try to change one major variable a week. So if you're changing your zinc dose, you want to try a bigger dose. You give whatever dose you were at least a week before you try the next dose. Same thing with the big minerals, the zinc, selenium, molybdenum. You give those a week at each dose before you choose to go up. And usually most people will feel a problem within the first 3 days. But some people it takes a week, and some people are a little slower at recognizing it. So that's start low and go slow. With things like magnesium topical magnesium or potassium, those you tend to feel fairly quick. Like those of you out there know that like when you get potassium and you needed it, like whether it's food or supplements, like you feel it in like 10 to 15 minutes. It doesn't take a long time. So the electrolytes, the sodium, magnesium, potassium, those are quick. The big minerals take longer. The lactoferrin, if you haven't read the lactoferrin instructions, somebody on Twitter the other day was like, I took one pill of lactoferrin and I had lots of issues. And I'm like, did you read the instructions linked on the bottle? Because you're not supposed to do that. She was like, no, I didn't. I said, okay. If you're going to be dumb, you better be tough like this. That's why I have these sayings. So, yeah, Jackie says not everyone can tolerate grains like oats. She can't. Yeah. Oh, totally. I for some reason I've been having some barley and sorghum lately, and I seem to be tolerating that really well. However, oats and me don't. But I seem to get along much better with barley. And I've just been testing out sorghum for like 2 days now, and it seems to be working. So, so different people can be just different grains. Some people might be like, I don't get along with any grains. Okay, then don't eat them. Some people are like, I don't get along with any beans. Or like me, I'd say I can have beans like 2-3 times a week. If I have it more than that, I start feeling kind of bloaty. But if I have them like only 2 or 3 times a week, I feel fine. So that's fine. Christo said niacin is another thing I've heard to go slow on. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's go to the next one. Oh, yeah. This is just ethical right here. Address mold and mercury fillings before spending your money on me. If you have mercury fillings, which may also be very high in copper. If you didn't know, some mercury fillings are like 40% copper too. So now we just added a whole nother thing to the mix. And money for a lot of people is a big issue right now. Let's go, Brandon, right? Anyway, money for a lot of people is a big issue. So I tell people, like, I know they may want to do a consult with me or with one of the other practitioners. And they're like, what should I do first? And I'm like, get the poison out of your mouth. Get the mercury removed. Because if you're trying to do the program, one saying that I didn't go over is you want to stop intoxing before you start detoxing. Okay. So I want you to take the poison that's intoxing you out of your mouth so we can start detoxing properly. Only take out like 2, maybe 3 at a time. Don't, if you, we had somebody who had like 9 and or 7 and 9, or they took all of them out at once. And boy, the detox was crazy after that. I had to give them fairly high dose selenium to calm it down. Now, again, if you decide to go and do something based on what I just said, that's up to you. And if you're going to be dumb, you better be tough. So that's, if you're not getting my advice, you're not getting my direct advice. But yeah, so mold can be very expensive to remove. So these things are not cheap. Getting the mercury fillings out, getting the mold out of your house. Like if you know you live in a moldy house and you're wanting to come to me people are like, how do I detox the mold out of me? I'm like, get the mold out of your house. Eve, your dentist is completely wrong. Dentists want to cover their asses because they put poison in your mouth. Dentists' relationships with mercury fillings, many of them, it makes me sick. The fact that they can defend putting mercury and copper into people's mouths and then say, oh, it doesn't absorb, it doesn't off gas after 10 years. They are lying. And the the International Association of Oral and Maxillofacial, what's the T? Technicians, IAOMT, I forget the T, IAOMT.org. They have a video on YouTube where they show a mercury filling that was 40 years old. And the dentist will say, oh, it doesn't off gas anymore. Nothing comes off of it anymore. It's inert. They took an eraser, like a pencil eraser, and they rub it. You can find this video on YouTube. They rub it and you see and they have it in front of a black light, like a black light screen. And you see the fumes coming off of it from rubbing it with an eraser. That's it. That's all they rubbed it with. What do you think happens when you chew, I don't know, let's say you're chewing some almonds and it's like crunchy stuff. That's a lot harder than an eraser. And you're off-gassing that stuff into your mouth. And no, so Eve, the IAOMT, they teach dentists how to minimize the exposure to the patient when these things are removed. Because the funny thing is when you go to a conventional dentist, you will see them and their, the heat also makes the off-gassing worse. Yes, you're right, Hadley. Heat does cause the off-gassing too. So all your coffee drinking, so they're drinking coffee and then they're off-gassing mercury and then they wonder why they don't feel good. Yeah. So you want those out. And so I tell people, like, if you had to choose money-wise, if you can do it all at once, like if somebody could get their mercury fillings out or get the mold out and work with me or one of my other practitioners or do the Love Your Liver program, whatever they're choosing to do that. But do not, like when people are like, I had a mold test, a blood mold test for mold antibodies, and I got a bunch of them. What do I do? How do I detox this mold? The mold got into you from somewhere. You're living or working in a moldy area. You must fix that because you can't detox the mold toxins out of you when you're breathing them and eating them and having them come through your skin every day. So we want to stop intoxing before we try to really start detoxing. Poisons that you don't put into you do not have to be dealt with. They do not cause damage. Eve, what do the fillings cause? Look up mercury toxicity and copper toxicity. There's also some theories of which teeth they are maybe connected to, because your teeth have their own acupuncture meridians. And there's certain teeth that are connected to the breasts, and there was certain patterns that they saw where women who had breast cancer almost always had some sort of filling or root canal on a certain tooth. So you can look that up. I don't know how accurate that is, but still, dentistry is, you want to take good care of your teeth because you don't want to go to dentists as much as you can. Houndjog, you keep asking me about copper and intuition. Copper drives people insane. Copper toxicity drives people insane. So will vitamin A. We have tons of research on copper causing schizophrenia and copper causing vitamin A. I mean, a vitamin A causing schizophrenia. So we have those. Zinc is actually considered very grounding. So copper is very electric. It's very conductive compared to zinc, which is very grounding and much less conductive. Zinc and copper fight for spots in the body. So you start putting more copper in. I mean, if you're talking about copper fillings and intuition, you're talking about poison right by your brain. So, madness and genius, right? Who knows which one is which, but if you start hearing voices and you got tons of copper and vitamin A, I'd say it's probably not a good thing. So, Hadley said, even our biological dentist said dentistry is a shit show. It is. My dad was a dentist. Kelsey's mom is a dentist. I tend to find women who have dentists for parents. I don't know why this is. It's a really weird pattern. But anyway, my dad told me that pediatric dentists are the worst scammers. Oh my goodness. They're taking out teeth that are going to fall out anyway. They're going to go and do surgery and yank teeth out that are going to fall out anyway. Shysters. I go into, when we go, because my ex-wife insists on taking the kids to all of their dental stuff. And I'm just there being like, no, we're not going to do anything. No, the absolute minimum x-rays. Like we're at the point where the dentist is like, if you can't do this every 2.5 years or whatever, I can't see you. And I'm just like, okay, so we'll do it every 2.5 years or whatever. Y'all don't understand. I mean, if you don't understand what it is like dealing with an ex-wife, especially one who worships the conventional medical system, which is why she's so sick. You can't help people like that. But my kids listen to me, and they do enough of this stuff that they're way better off than the rest of their friends. So the duration paradox. Now, you guys have heard me talk about the duration paradox many, many times here. The duration paradox in the research, this is really what we're looking for. Short-term studies and cell studies will often look good. Then long-term studies and actual real people out in the real world will find that it's a disaster or it's the opposite of what the studies said. Kind of like, I don't know, Brian Johnson, the don't die guy, taking that drug Rivampin, or if somebody remembers the name of it, the one that he quit, where they kept trying to take it for 5 years. Pills, injectable, IV, whatever. Rapamycin, that's what it was, rapamycin. And it kept screwing him up. Like, this guy's supposed to be an expert on longevity, and he's like, yeah, I've been taking this drug to try to live longer that's been giving me nasty symptoms for 5 years now. And I'm like, a little thick up there, huh? And I went, and I go, and it takes me 5 minutes to find that rapamycin is an ALDH inhibitor, which means it slows down your detox, which means he's building up aldehydes, and his diet is like straight aldehyde city. And it's gonna be ugly. Actually, somebody was telling me the other day that their people are starting to notice that it looks like his hair is thinning. He takes microdose Accutane too. It's not going to be pretty when this whole thing just explodes. Oh, but it makes my skin nicer. Oh, but it's killing you. Cool story, bro. So yeah, duration paradox. Generally, what we see is when people are like, especially like YouTube influencers, like, I don't know, methylene blue users, ivermectin users, all these people are like, oh my gosh, this made me feel so much better short term. I get so tired of the whole methylene blue thing. You took a pharmaceutical antidepressant and you felt better. That's cute. That's really cute. Now you go tell everybody to take it. Your pharmaceutical synthetic dye antidepressant MAO inhibitor that could cause serotonin syndrome. for all these nuts, especially Peters, who obsess about serotonin, trying to minimize serotonin. And then they'll take something that could cause serotonin syndrome. It just boggles my mind. So, and then you want to know why methylene blue has been around for over 100 years? And yet it's never really taken off, like really taken off, because it causes long-term problems and everybody quits. What about all these diet fads? Paleo and low carb and keto and intermittent fasting, and they all fade off. They all fade off because they cause problems long-term, because they're poorly designed and they're missing specific things, or they've got too much of other things. And the poison always wins. So now next one. This is not a game. This specific saying. Oh, is marathon on there? Let me get rid of my search. There it is. Let me get rid of that. Okay. This is not a game. This is where people sometimes don't take things seriously. And they think that just because we're doing diet and supplements and, exercise and this other stuff, that it can't have serious repercussions if you're doing it wrong. And people are like, oh, I'm, like methylene blue. They're like, oh, well, Dr. Smith, I like the program and all that, but I want to do methylene blue because my buddy did it and he thinks it's great. Or Liver King did it or whatever. Okay, you can do it. If you mess with your brain, this is another one of my sayings that didn't make it on here. If you're messing with your brain, never forget that you are messing with your brain, for better or worse. If you end up worse, hey, you played with your brain. This is not a game. Supplements, just because they're supplements, does not mean they're not toxic. It does not mean they cannot cause long-term repercussions. Can we hopefully fix a lot of this stuff? Well, we see fixing it daily. That's what we do. We fix all of the mistakes that we all have made in thinking things are not a game. This is not a game. So people decide like a brilliant people who don't understand toxic bile theory. And let's say they're going to try to take a bunch of glycine and a bunch of taurine because they think they hear toxic bile and they think they know what to do. And then they start taking tons of glycine and tons of taurine. Well, if you don't know, certain bile acids bound to glycine, which is what the body does with glycine and taurine, it binds them to bile acids. Certain bile acids become less toxic with a glycine bound. Certain bile acids become more toxic with a glycine bound to them. Certain bile acids become less toxic with a taurine bound to them, and certain bile acids become more toxic with a taurine bound to them. You're going to go and just shotgun glycine and taurine in the system then. Okay. Hope that works out for you, because one of those two is probably going to cause some issues. And then they do it, and then they're like, why am I messed up? And well, this is not a game. You didn't understand what you were doing, and you decided to just, I don't know why now people think that dumping bile is bad or that dumping bile is good, and they haven't watched the toxic bile theory videos, and they don't understand, and they're going to mess themselves up in this thing that is not a game. And they're going to wonder why, because they simply didn't do their due diligence. They did not research enough, or it's really amazing how many people start hearing some of my stuff and then they think that they've got it all and they're smarter than me and they've already figured it all out and they're going to go do it themselves. And I'm like, okay, you go right ahead. I'll be here. Okay. We're not even past the first page. This may have to be a multi episode. It is a marathon, not a sprint. You don't detox in a weekend. You don't detox in a month. You don't detox by drinking tons of something and shitting your absolute brains out. That is not how you detox. it's a marathon, because if you are getting into this, you are looking at years, several years, 2, 3, 4 years. Will you improve your symptoms along the way? Yes. A lot of your symptoms, you saw, this, the testimonial earlier, like many of this woman's issues went away within 10 months of doing the program. Okay. So do things go away quickly? Yes, absolutely. But if you really want to fix all the deep down stuff, it's going to be probably several years, if not 3 or 4. That's a marathon, not a sprint. So then when you have people pushing detox too hard at the start, they're like sprinting out of the gate, like the rabbit and the tortoise, right? The tortoise and the hare. Sprint out of the gate, and then they wonder why they feel like dog shit. And I'm like, I might have said a couple times to not do that. I might have said it. I might have hinted at it. I might have even elevated my voice a little bit. And you didn't listen. Because everybody's like, I'm going to get through this faster than anybody else. And I go, yeah. You're not going to get through. I mean, even if you go and you do, all your infrared saunas and all that stuff, and your niacin and all that stuff, it's still years. So one of my other favorite sayings that I use in exercise, especially when I'm doing something longer duration in exercise, settle in. I use those 2 words when I'm doing long duration type exercise, because it just says, find a pace that you can do and stick to it. Settle in. And so you have the mindset of, this is going to be a long time. This is probably going to suck a bit. However, find a level of suck that you can handle and stick with it. If you're a real sensitive kind of baby type and you're like, I can't handle any discomfort, then don't. If you're kind of like, well, I could push it a little harder. I could, I don't mind if it gives me some gas or makes me, whatever. If you're having some symptoms and you're like, I can deal with this, I'm improving in everything else, and I got this one little symptom and I'm okay with it, and everything else is improving, then that's good. You want to know my opinion of Dr. Berg? I would not listen to a thing that man says. He looks like crap. He's a Scientologist too. And I have lots of people here who were Dr. Berg people. Dr. Berg ruined them with all his eating liver and all that other trash. So I don't think much of Dr. Berg. He doesn't come into my mind much. Happy liver, happy life. Well, this will be a quick one. Your liver is the root foundation of all of your health. That's it. No other organ is as important as your liver. So if you want to have a happy life, you want to have a happy liver. That's it. It's very simple. This is the biggest realization in all of my health journey. As I was coming down to things, I went, the liver is everything. If the liver cannot do its job properly or it's overloaded, everything else suffers. And then you get to see which things break first. Which of your weak links breaks first? Because if the liver's not keeping up, then something else is going to break first, because your liver doesn't break until you're dead. If your liver breaks and they're like, yo, you have liver failure, you need a new liver. I mean, they're telling you that because you're going to die. Liver cancer, right? Oh my God, your liver is so toxic. Now your liver's making new toxin storage areas in it. Fatty liver. Your liver is so toxic, you're making new fatty toxin storage areas in it. So, next one, slow the F down. Yes. That's generally It's a marathon, not a sprint. Okay. In a marathon, you wouldn't run as fast as in a sprint, so slow down. Doc, why do I started this? I don't feel good. I'm doing all this. I'm doing everything you said, and I'm like, I don't feel good. Did you miss like every article of me saying, if you don't feel good doing this, slow down, back off? And we've all done. I mean, you realize, folks, I may sound like I'm chiding people here, but I've done all this. I lead from the front. I have done all of this. There was a time where I was, okay, you want to know what I took for a while when I was really trying to push soluble fiber? I was having a cup of dry oats with water for breakfast. I was having a whole can of beans at lunch. I was having whatever fiber was in my dinner. And 3 times a day, I was having a tablespoon of psyllium fiber and a tablespoon of charcoal in a drink. I think when I calculated it up, I was up around 60 grams of soluble fiber a day estimated. Yeah, Christo said too much fiber. Yeah. And it took me a while. This is like part of how I figured out that there is too much soluble fiber. So the funny thing was I was doing all that and I started going, God, I'm just like bloaty and I got so much stuff in me. And I was like, maybe I don't need to do this much. And I thought back to, I was like, I can't remember. Somebody might've said it in the network. They said, Karen Hurd says to, keep it about 30 grams of soluble fiber a day or less. And I saw that, or I remembered it, and I went, okay. Because I was trying to push hard because I'm that type of person. How do I know all about pushing too hard? Because I do it. I've done it. Been there, done that. Got the t-shirt. And so I cut down to 30 grams a day-ish, which I think basically just meant I took out all that psyllium. And I felt better. And then actually I started realizing, I was like, I think I'd feel better if I even went a little lower. Okay. So I did. Now I do sun fiber on a daily basis. I got some other soluble fiber sources, and no, it's not zero. Somebody want to tell Think Ahead why we don't do zero fiber, unless people are really new to the program, because I don't have time to explain it here. So again, slow the F down, try less fiber. People read the articles in the Love Your Liver program. And they think that soluble fiber is the way out of everything. Now, it's super helpful. Will is correct. Zero fiber makes you a crazy lady. Yes. There's a crazy lady out there who's zero fiber. So angry. Why is she so angry if she's so healthy from her high pork carnivore diet? I don't know. Maybe because she's toxic and she's not pooping out any bile. She's just reabsorbing all of it. That's what happens when you don't get any fiber. You reabsorb probably 99% or more of your bile. So you're just recycling all your toxicity in the liver. And the liver's going to fail. It won't show obvious at the start, but the liver's just slowly failing. So less fiber. Many people hear that fiber, soluble fiber especially, is really good for bile, so they try to do too much. And then they start, soluble fiber triggers bile dumping. Soluble fiber triggers bile dumping. So you want to dump some bile, you want to release some bile so that the soluble fiber, why is the body dumping bile when you eat soluble fiber? Because your body knows that fiber is a way to get toxins out. So your body gets excited. Your liver gets excited. It says, ooh, we can get rid of toxins. Let's squirt out some bile so that it can absorb into the soluble fiber and you can poop it out. Okay. However, taking in too much soluble fiber for some people will cause an excessive amount of bile dumping. So there's more bile dumped than the soluble fiber can absorb. So then you have extra bile running around leaking into your system because you're still leaking bile. That's why you're here. That's why you have health issues. Now, some people don't dump much bile into their intestines. And so when they have too much soluble fiber, if you don't know this already, you have to have bile in your intestines to trigger pooping, to trigger the muscular actions of pooping and to move things along. So if you take too much soluble fiber and you don't make enough bile that goes into your intestines, you get constipated. If you take too much fiber and you trigger too much bile dumping, then you can get diarrhea. So this is where people who don't understand fiber, where they're like, well, some people are like, more fiber looks so great in studies. And other people are like, no fiber looks great in studies. That's because they're looking at different types of people. And often the studies are geared to find what the authors want, because they do things like, I remember seeing a very pro-fiber scientific paper, research paper. And then I looked down to their methods and how they got their participants. And they said that if people had problems with fiber in general, or if they had problems with the fiber in the study, they just kicked them out of the study. So they just separated out the people who didn't get along with fiber. So of course they got a good study. But fiber is, we are omnivores. We are designed to eat plant foods and animal foods. So, and that's how we get rid of toxicity in the bile, is pooping it out, bound to things like soluble fiber. We can also use charcoal as another thing. But yeah, less fiber. When people are detoxing too hard, generally less fiber is one of the things that we have them do. Okay. Oh, and like that's why, so people don't realize. So Hound Jog, you were saying, so barley is like I consider it like a black belt grain. If you go and look up how much fiber is in barley, there's soluble fiber. It's beta glucan, which is great. It's not it's a good amount of beta glucan. However, the amount of insoluble fiber in barley is outrageous. And it's just too much for some people. Barley is what I consider a black belt grain. Now, some people would interpret that as they're like, oh, I want to be a black belt, so I'm going to eat tons of barley. Well, you may kick your own ass because you may not be a black belt yet. So, my car was fine until it broke. My health was fine until I had a disease. You know, like all these people who are like, I'm so healthy, I'm so healthy, I'm so healthy. And then they're like, oh yeah, I got a diagnosis all of a sudden. Or like the influencers. They're going along and everything's fine, supposedly on Instagram and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm in the hospital because my kidneys are failing or whatever. Your car works fine. You drive it every day until suddenly it breaks. It didn't give you a bunch of warnings, or maybe it did and you just ignored them. And then all of a sudden, it's so multiple. This is another important thing. We may have to add this one, but it's generally multiple small failures that lead to catastrophic failures. It's usually not just catastrophic failure out of nowhere. There was usually multiple small failures, small poor decisions, all that stuff that added up. And then all of a sudden, then the system cracks. So that's that. Then we have, I think I said this in an episode. Sure, it is up to you to keep the detox livable. That just goes along with all the things we've been saying. So, yeah. If you're suffering in the detox, there are times when certain things happen. Space weather, the concept I don't talk about much on YouTube, which is the liver cracking open. So there's all sorts of stuff that can happen, but generally, if you're feeling, so one of the things we do different is other practitioners will often, if people are feeling terrible, like I have the story of the woman who for 3 years, she was seeing one of the most famous names in hair analysis on the internet, and one of his trainees and this person, and she just kept getting worse for 3 years. And they just kept saying, oh, it's detox. Oh, it's retracing. Oh, it's detox. Oh, it's retracing. She almost lost her marriage over her symptoms. She was losing her mind and getting sicker. And they just kept telling her she's just detoxing. No, if you're feeling bad for that long, you're either doing something wrong if you're doing other approaches, or if you're doing our approach, you're doing too much of something, or you're doing something that is not getting along with you. So we back off. We try to figure out what it is. I can usually ask people, I'm like, what do you tend to have the most issues with? And they'll be like, oh, zinc or whatever. And I'm like, okay, so first thing we're going to do is back off the zinc. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, I just increased it recently. Oh. Sometimes I guess I take my detective skills for granted that other people don't see it. But always, if all of a sudden you start feeling bad, think about what did you just change recently in the last 1 to 2 weeks? What did you change? Did you make any major changes to your foods or your supplements? Go and rewind that and take it out and see if things go back. Okay. Okay. The more toxic you are, the slower the detox. This should make sense. The more gunked up your car engine is, the less efficient it runs. The more toxins you accumulate, the slower your detox runs. It's like a vicious cycle. You bring in the toxins, they get stored, they cause the damage that they do. Some of the damage that they do is to slow your detox. Well, then you get exposed to more toxins. Your detox is slowed down now. So you build up the toxins more easily now. You can't process them as fast. That slows your detox down further. Do you see how this is like a very vicious cycle? This is why so many people can't get out of it. This is why the most important thing to do is to reduce your toxin intake. We can't make your detox system speed up necessarily, because it's the toxins that are slowing it down. It's the toxins that are making you feel bad. So why do we want to speed all that up and make you feel worse? If we stop putting the poisons in, your detox system can deal with what's there already and start to catch up on the backlog of work. And then it can catch up, and then your detox system speeds up because now there's less load on it. Okay? Okay. Well, I know we started late, so we're already at noon. I'll probably go till like 12:30, I think. But I think, let me see, how many pages do we have here? 4.5 pages. So yeah. Okay. I do like this one. The body will always choose the slow death over the quick death. This is like when people are like, but vitamin D toxicity or vitamin A toxicity requires hundreds of thousands or millions of units, and that's wrong. And they're like wanting it to be like, if it's not instant death, it didn't cause any problem. And I'm like, y'all need to put on your thinking caps a little tighter. Your body stores things. Why does your body store toxins? Because it cannot deal with them at the moment. And if it doesn't deal with them at the moment, they're going to float around in your blood, affect your heart, affect your brain, potentially cause you to die quickly. So what does the body do? The body chooses the slow death by storing it. Is it still going to cause problems in storage? Yes. However, you may be able to, the body's hope is that you're going to reduce your toxin exposure somehow. So then all of a sudden the load on it is less. Does this sound familiar? The load on it is less, and then it can catch up on the toxins it's stored and take them out, poison on the way out, right? Take them out in a way that's not going to hurt you too badly. Okay? So your body, when people are like, why would the body do that? It's the body is trying to choose the slow death over the quick death. So you don't die, or at least you have longer until you die. Maybe you can have some kids before you croak. Like, that's nature. Have kids. That's nature. Okay. Yes, if you put a turbocharger on an old engine, it just blows up the engine faster. This is what a lot of people try to do with supplements. Their body is running crappy, and they read about a supplement that speeds up everything. And then they go and they're trying to put a turbocharger on their old crappy engine that has never gotten a tune-up. It's running full of gunk and garbage and crappy gas and crappy oil. And then they want to go and put a turbo booster on it. And then they wonder why It burns up the engine quicker. That's it. Like most supplements that are trying to, this is why actually you guys, some of you guys out there, this is a really important concept. We don't try to speed up detox. We don't try to speed up detox. People will be like, oh, this ALDH booster. And then they'll like the miracetin. No, garbage. What we want is like for ALDH, what are the parts that ALDH needs? Selenium and not selenium and molybdenum. Yes, selenium and molybdenum. Those are parts of the engine. What's the gasoline for ALDH? NAD. How do we get NAD? Nicotinic acid, also known as flush niacin, is the gasoline for the engine. Most people are running deficient in niacin, deficient in sodium, deficient in molybdenum, and then they're taking in way too many aldehydes, like all these herbs and spices that they're smelly, like cumin and vanilla and cinnamon, and tons of, if you're doing lemon oil, there's like citraldehyde, there's all sorts of these things. And so they're putting in tons of aldehydes thinking they're healthy, while their engine doesn't have the right parts and their engine doesn't have enough gas. And then they're going to go and take some pharmaceutical or some herbal ALDH or the probiotic, the GMO probiotic that has ALDH in it. And they're going to wonder why it doesn't fix all their problems. Or maybe they feel better for a day, but then it goes away and they're left worse off than they were before. They're trying to put a turbocharger on a crap engine. Why don't we fix the engine? Then you don't need the turbocharger. Actually, some of you may have noticed this. Some of you people who have been doing the Love Your Liver program for a while now, there might be certain, let's say you're going to go fool around with an herb or a supplement or whatever for whatever function you're trying. Like you're already pretty well detoxed. You're far along. And then you decide to take something that you read on the internet accelerates or speeds up something. You may actually find it does the opposite. It's like the opposite of the duration paradox. In sick people, they might use an herb or a medication or a supplement to boost it, and they feel it for a while until it goes away. However, as you get less toxic and then you try to take one of those things, it actually backfires and does the opposite. So it's this, you get the true effect of it right away. Okay. Is the juice worth the squeeze? Is the suffering worth the benefit? That's an easier way to put that. Is the suffering you're putting yourself through it worth it? So like, as I talked about earlier, let's say you're getting a bunch of benefits from doing the program and you realize you're pushing it a little hard and you're getting some symptoms, but you're improving. So you're kind of going, Doc, I don't know what I should do. Should I stay at this? Should I go up? Should I go down? The very simple question that you guys should ask yourself is the juice worth the squeeze? Are the benefits you're getting worth the negatives? If you're coming to me to complain about the negatives, you're probably telling me that the negatives are not worth it and you should probably back off. When in doubt, go slower. You're going to get there. You're making improvements the whole time. Getting greedy or impatient is the quickest way to increase your symptoms, your detox symptoms. So, oh yeah, we already went over this one. Crackheads love crack. That doesn't mean it's good for them. This is the biggest logical thing that people have trouble with. And we went over this before. Things that make you feel bad, obviously, don't do them or do less of them. Or maybe you're not ready yet. Okay. But things that make you feel better are not automatically good for you. That's the biggest problem. People think that, but if I eat sugar, I feel good. Like the whole glucose and dextrose nonsense that went around. Okay. Something to think about. Let me just prove myself right again. The glucose and dextrose, not you, Will. It wasn't just you. I mean, it seemed nice, but the glucose and dextrose fad came about And there was a shyster claiming a 100% cure rate in people. A 100% cure rate. I immediately saw that and I'm like, this is total horseshit. And a bunch of people tried it. And a bunch of people figured out that it didn't effing work at all. They felt better at the start, and then they started gaining a bunch of weight, and then they started not feeling good. And I was back here. I did a live stream on it. I showed that glucose turns into at least 4 different aldehydes, and that there's tons of research on sugar being bad for people. And I'm just like, when in the world did buying a tub of sugar become good for people? Will, this is not about you. This is not just, you are forgiven, Will. You are forgiven. This is just an example. But people at the start would be like, I feel amazing on glucose. Oh, I feel so amazing. And I'm like, that's a high. Like, you're getting a high. That's what drugs do. That's what toxins do. Come back to me in 6 months. And I'm sure that I did that live stream more than 6 months ago. Who is still doing glucose and dextrose now? If it had a 100% cure rate, why are people not drinking cups of glucose in water anymore? Nobody's talking about it anymore. It died because it sucks and it doesn't work. It sounds great and people are like, I can eat sugar. Talk about the Pete diet now. I can eat sugar. And they all just get so angry because they don't get better. So we just don't. Sugar, eating powdered sugar has not ever cured anything other than starvation. Well, Will, you got tired of the sugar after a bit because your body was intuitively saying, this is not good for me. That's what often happens, right? We start on something, we kind of think it's good for us. Maybe we feel better at the start, but after a while, your body starts going, oh, dude, no, this is not cool. Like it was cool the first time. How many things in our life do we do? It was cool the first time, but I did a couple more times after that, and it wasn't so cool after that. So, yeah. But again, like the methylene blue fad. I'm out here on Twitter as one of the major people saying things bad about methylene blue, and everybody's like, how can you say this? How can you say this? And I'm like, just give it time. Just give it time. I'm going to watch. I'm going to feel bad for all you people who got sucked into methylene blue. I'll feel bad for you for, a second or two. And then I'm like, you knowingly ingested a chemical synthetic pharmaceutical dye that stains things blue. And it's considered pollution when it's in the water. And it's carcinogenic and mutagenic and all these things. And like, these are not hard to find in the research. I hope bad things happen to the methylene blue sellers, honestly. I hope bad things happen to them. Hound Jog says my toilet seats are still blue. Yeah, okay. So methylene blue accumulates in your system, folks. I showed the research. It creates residues in your tissues. They called them insoluble residues in your cells. Insoluble. They've precipitated out of solution. Insoluble. Chunks inside your cells of methylene blue. It's going to accumulate. Actually, H. Milo, I don't know his name, but H. Milowicz on Twitter, he showed a picture of methylene blue coming out of his toe webs. Years later, he's doing the Love Your Liver program now. He's detoxing the methylene blue out of his tissues now. And he talked to Kelsey, I think, and Kelsey told him, he's like, how do we figure out if this is methylene blue? And Kelsey said, mix up some vitamin C in water and put it on it. And if it goes clear, it's methylene blue. He said it totally did. He's detoxing methylene blue out of his skin. Probably the residues. But does your body have great mechanisms for getting insoluble chunks of methylene blue out of the cells quickly? Probably not. And there is a whole methylene blue live stream that you guys can watch. Kelsey and I did that together. I'm going to try to turn the ivermectin video and the methylene blue video into a Twitter thread because people there really need to see it. Yes, protocols. I don't generally do protocols. Why do I say I don't do protocols? Yes, thanks for putting the methylene blue video in the chat, Joe. Why do I not do protocols? Protocols assume everybody's the same. Protocols are assuming everybody is the same make and model of car. Everybody's a Honda Civic. Not too fast, not too slow, just kind of in the mid. Okay, no, that's not everybody at all. Protocols are intended for people who don't want to think. And they're just like, I'm just going to take X amount of this and X amount of this because this guy said so. Well, guess who the protocol probably worked best for? The guy who wrote it. Does that mean it works really well for anybody else necessarily? No. So if you see anything with protocol in the name, run away. If you see things that are not like ranges, this is actually, some people have trouble with our program because they start working with me or other practitioners. And we're like, well, we're going to test, especially their first visit. We're going to test out zinc. We can look at your hair test. We could look at your blood test and we can say you are deficient in zinc, right? Think about this, the car analogy. I can look at the gas gauge in a car and know that it's low. Okay, so we look at the blood test, hair test, their zinc is low. We look at the car gas gauge, we know it's low. Let's just say you don't know much about this car. It's the first time you've ever driven it. Somebody just gave it to you. And you're like, and you don't have the owner's manual, so you can't cheat, right? Somebody says, you need to fill up the tank of that car. Do you have enough money? And you go, well, I only have this much money. Or you go, well, how many gallons is it going to take? And you're like, I don't know, because it's a new car. You haven't filled it up before. You don't know how it's going to respond. So then we tell people, like, you might be up to 30 milligrams. Some people, when we test them, we might take them higher. Generally for people, I'm just saying this right now, generally for people who are not testing, I cap them at 30 milligrams a day of zinc because long-term, I don't know how that's going to go. And I would rather err on the side of less rather than giving people too much zinc for years. So 30 milligrams, that's why Keystone Minerals is 30 milligrams. Can people take more zinc? Sure. You're guessing if you're not testing, and we'll get to that one too. So yeah, if you're not testing, you're basically guessing over time. So we test, but then, so you look at the gas gauge and you go, okay, we're at a quarter of a tank. How much gas do I need? Do I have enough money? Well, with people, we say you can try up to this dose. And you're going to go up in steps, 1 week at each step, just like I said earlier. And you're going to see how you feel. And if you feel bad, you're going to go back to the dose that was okay. That's it. I had a woman completely refill her zinc stores with 5 milligrams of zinc a day. I need a lot more than that on a daily basis. Does that mean that she's wrong? No. We had her tests. She would actually say, when this is like the feedback that I get. This is when I have a truly good client. She said, I can take 5 and 5 helps me feel better, Dr. Smith, but if I take more than that, I don't feel good. And then 6 months later, we get her follow-up test and her zinc is all refilled. And I'm like, nice work. Like, you totally aced that. And then I have some people who are like, well, I tell them to go up to 60 milligrams for a while. I'm like, we're going to test this out. They're testing. Tell them to go up to there. And then they go up there and they're like, well, I didn't feel any better up then, but I'm telling them to go up there because they're not getting their zinc refilled. Okay. So they're not getting their zinc refilled with what they had been doing. And then they go up to 60 and they're like, well, I didn't feel any better there, so I went back down. And I'm like, that was not what you were supposed to do. You were supposed to stay there. If you felt nothing or you felt better, you were supposed to stay up at that dose because we know you need more zinc than you were getting before. and then you dropped your dose? Like, that was not the instructions. So anyway, but if you're just deciding to take tons of zinc without testing, I want you to think about this. If you are, well, actually, let me go find this one. Let me go find, doing mega doses of things is a good way to cause mega issues. So if you're, when do you know, if you're not testing, and let's say maybe you're not great at paying attention to your symptoms or figuring out what is causing your symptoms, and you're taking a bunch of something, how do you figure out when you've taken too much? Once you're there and you've taken too much and you've accumulated too much, and now you're toxic. You can get toxic in good things. You can take too much selenium. You can take too much zinc. You can take too much molybdenum. How do you find out when you've taken too much? When you're there. So when people take higher doses of minerals than I generally suggest without testing, and then they get a problem, then it becomes, if you're going to be dumb, you better be tough. Wait, let me go in here. So let me put this up at the top now. Back up here, since I already went over it. Okay, next one. Don't chase the flush, but don't avoid the flush either. We're talking about flush niacin here, nicotinic acid. It's a little flush. Like, it may not feel great. The more toxic you are, generally, the more intense the flush is going to be at a lower dose. Okay? So you're not trying to make yourself suffer by like always trying to maximize the flush, but you're also not, because like a way to maximize the flush, here's a funny thing. You want a bigger flush? Eat more sugar. I actually believe the flush is a detox of alcohols and aldehydes in your skin, especially aldehydes. And what did I just tell you that glucose turns into? At least 4 different aldehydes. Oh, weird. You eat more sugar, you get a stronger flush. Sugar turns into aldehydes. I believe that flush niacin really pushes aldehydes through the detox. So if you have more of them to go, you're going to feel that effect more. Okay? But yeah, don't be so scared of the flush that you don't take flush niacin, or that you get used to it. I'm going to be honest. I will probably, some people love the flush. Absolutely love it. I'm always just kind of like, I tend to forget that I had it or that I took the niacin. And then all of a sudden I'm like, why am I, and then I'm like, oh yeah, it's the niacin. And then I just go, okay, fine. Just write it out. It's no big deal. So, and I've been finding, actually, somebody, I think it was Susan Stewart, was talking about how if she goes and the sun or ultraviolet light oxidizes toxins in your skin and sends alcohols into aldehydes, into acids, and then they go to your liver. Now, so that means the sun will break down alcohols and aldehydes in your skin into other like acids and then send them into the system. It doesn't mean it makes them disappear. So she was saying that when she was getting more sun or more tanning bed time, her flush was way less. And she could take more niacin without flushing. Why is that? Because she increased the detox of the aldehydes that are in her skin that are the root cause of the flush by getting more ultraviolet light. She was basically getting more detox to her skin. And so the flush, which is a detox process, was less intense for her because her skin was less toxic due to the combination. Okay. Oh, and then Houndjog says, oh, the red wine last night. That might be why you flushed so hard. Yes, she was saying she had an intense flush this morning. And then she goes, oh, the red wine last night. Yes, it all makes it when you know what to look for. I mean, what does red wine have in it? It's got sugar and alcohol. So, and what does alcohol turn into? Acetaldehyde. Oh, another aldehyde. So yes. next one. I think we'll get through 2 pages of this today. Test, don't guess, then address. Now, technically, test, don't guess is actually, I think, trademarked or whatever. So we added test, don't guess, then address, because testing doesn't mean you did anything. Like testing, okay, you test. The what is the saying? It's a poor musician who blames their instrument. Like, right, if you test and you do the wrong things with the test, like, okay, I'm going to say it. Nearly everybody out there doing hair testing is just repeating the same garbage over and over. And I get lots of their clients and I get lots of people who are frustrated with hair testing. They want hair testing to work. I wanted hair testing to work. You know, when I did my first hair test was when I was a freshman or a sophomore, or either first or second year in medical school. And I read about it and I was like, this sounds amazing. And I'm going to do it. And I did it. And I felt a little better, but there was something that wasn't right about it. And so I quit. I did 2 tests. And funny thing was, my hair test improved. Like, my hair test looked better the second time. However, I felt worse. And I didn't like the diet. Making my labs look better and making me feel worse. Well, this is something you guys would know what I would do in that situation. I was like, screw this. I want to feel better. I don't care if my hair test looks better if I feel worse. So, doing the right thing with your test results is very, very important. And knowing when test results can get wonky, or the possibility of them getting wonky. This is another thing that people in hair testing will do. They'll assume that the hair test is just right. Like, everything on the hair test is just right. And they'll get into sodium to potassium ratios and sodium magnesium ratios and all this stuff. And I'm like, do you have a water softener? And the person's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, that's why your sodium is high. There's salt in your water. Nobody talks about this. Like, do you have hard water? Oh, you can look at the calcium to strontium balance. You know, you look at calcium relative to strontium and you can tell if somebody has hard water or not. Like, I have figured out a lot of things in this realm that nobody talks about. And the problem with the hair test is that it is outside of your body, so it can be contaminated. So the most important thing as a practitioner is to make sure that it's not contaminated, is to assume that there could be contamination and then eliminating that possibility as well as you can. But everybody else who's into hair testing doesn't know about all these potential contaminations, and then they just take it face value. And then they look at things. They care about the ratios more than the levels, which is a big problem because that's just a road to nowhere. Anyway. Oh, Bojack said cutting out salt and replacing with potassium has been one of the best things I've ever done. Well, I'm assuming, Bojack, you're still salting your food. You're just not using as much salt, correct? Okay. Let's see. They want you sick, weak, crazy, infertile, and dead early. If you haven't figured this out yet, they don't like you. They don't like us. Way less salt. Yeah. There's people on Twitter now telling people to take like 10 to 15 grams of salt a day. It's bonkers. And they're like, oh, your muscles will be more full and dirt. And I'm like, this is going to end badly. It's going to end real badly. There's guys telling everybody to take 10 grams of creatine a day. You know, actually, Will, what did creatine turn into? Methylamine and what else? So was it an aldehyde? So there was the creatine turns into some pretty nasty stuff in the system. It was aldehydes. Yeah, I think it was 2 different aldehydes. And so there's guys on Twitter who are like, creatine has no problems with it. Just take 10 grams or more a day. And I'm like, oh boy, it's going to be ugly. Like, it's not that we have to avoid all creatine, but also mega dosing is the fastest way to cause mega issues. You want to find out how to break your kidneys with creatine? Just take tons of it. Just shovel it into your drinks all day. Like, how else do you find problems with things? Take a lot of them. But yeah, You being sick makes them more money, makes you weaker, makes them more money. Obviously, you being weak. All these things, sick, weak, crazy, and fertile, all those help them to make more money off you. And you being dead early means they get more fresh meat to go through the cycle again. And they just suck as much money out of you while you're here as they possibly can and cause as much suffering as possible. They don't like you. They're paying influencers to sell you trash poison. They're paying people to not talk about certain topics. That's one of the bigger things you got to realize. That when you say they're like, well, they are talking about this, but then you go, what aren't they talking about? Certain topics are very large for truthers and other things to never talk about. I don't know that this was a saying, oh gosh, don't even get me started. You know what happens when you get me started. Then I'm started up, right? Yeah. Don't get me started is like, that's bait. That's bait. Oh yeah, as Will posted this. This was a quote from Micro Berto. In case you didn't know, the world's most trusted form of creatine monohydrate is synthesized from sodium sarcosinate and cyanamide. Cyanamide. Doesn't that sound tasty? I'm guessing if he's saying the most trusted, I'm guessing he means Creapure. That would be my guess. The German Creapure. Which is, I'd prefer to take that over the Chinese stuff if I was going to. Okay, ladies tend to take longer to detox. Ladies, it is what it is. You guys make less bile than men. You more easily make body fat. You tend to go to doctors more, especially when you're young. Birth control pills, cosmetics, scents, cleaning supplies. Like, so there's you make less bile, ladies, so you're going to detox slower. So then we also have ladies getting... The marketers know how to push your buttons, ladies, and to get you to buy absolute dog shit toxic products. More so than men. Not that men don't get suckered into it, but ladies, they know to sell to you. If you know anything about marketing, ladies, they know to sell to women. More emotional buying goes on. So you're buying tons of toxic crap and you store it better and faster. So men get rid of it better and faster. Women store it better and faster. So ladies, you need to get all that toxic garbage out of your life. And if people are going to say, but I need to do makeup, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't hurt me one bit if you do makeup. It only hurts you. So telling me all the excuses that you need to wear makeup or you need to spray toxic smelling crap everywhere. Kelsey just went to her mom's house, who's a dentist, and she's got like scented stuff, like the Glade plugins all over the house. And Kelsey's like, this is not going to work for me or the kids while we're visiting. I'm like, and I sent her a study. I said, share this with your mom. Do you know that they had an 1,100 person study? 34.7%. I remember this because I just looked at it yesterday. 34.7% of the people in the study said that they got negative symptoms when they were around scented garbage. Scents are toxic. Don't make your house smell like anything. You want your house to smell like nothing. Smelling like nothing is good. Smelling like scented crap is bad, as a general rule. So ladies, please stop poisoning yourselves because it takes you even longer to detox. That's all I have to say about that. It's really just, it is what it is. And if you're a lady out there and you don't buy any toxic crap and you use non-toxic cleaning stuff and you're doing everything right, amazing. If you're not, and you're not getting better, stop buying all that shit. This is because I want to help, ladies. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to help you. Definitely don't let your children take birth control pills. Vitamin D is rat poison. Vitamin D supplements are rat poison. There is no argument here. Kills mice. It's called, if you want to look up the brand names, Terra D3, T-E-R-A, letter D3. Terra D3 or D-Con, D-Con, the letter D dash, and then the keyword con. It's a con. D-Con. It's mice poison. It's rat poison. They use vitamin D baits, vitamin D rodenticide baits, when the warfarin or coumadin ones stop working on the mice and rats. Vitamin D3 is the escalated rat poison after the blood thinner stops working. So when people are like, I won't take warfarin or coumadin, that shit is rat poison. It is. And vitamin D3 is the next level rat poison that you escalate to when that stops working. It kills cats. It kills dogs every year. You can look up vitamin D3. You can look up rodenticide, like veterinarian vitamin D, and you can find stuff about dogs and cats, kidney failure, going to the vets. Kids could eat them. Like I went over before, there have been multiple episodes of milk being accidentally over-fortified and killing children. It's poison. Get it from what remember, as I've said, I do believe humans need light. We need light. UV light. Either from the sun, or you can get it from Spurties or tanning beds or whatever. We got the Spurty link down below if you want to get one for your house. I have a gym membership just so I can use their tanning bed. They're probably wondering about me because the only time I have 2 gym memberships. I have like the hardcore gym, and then I have like the tanning bed and sauna gym. And I go in there regularly, and I just walk in and do the tanning bed and walk out. And they're probably like, what? This guy doesn't want his money's worth. I heard that Planet Fitness, now this is just another idea. Something I heard, Planet Fitness, I think it was, they were saying that they have the tanning beds that have both the UV and the red light. So if there was ever there's not really a lot of good reasons to join Planet Fitness, but I did hear that they have really nice tanning beds in terms of they have the red light added. So we need light. We need light. Here's the question. We know that vitamin D3 is used as rat poison, and it kills the rats through hypercalcemia by yanking calcium out of their bones. And then it causes all the problems when it's in their bloodstream. So maybe, think about this, maybe the benefits of sunlight. Well, and then there's all these giant studies, right, where they give people vitamin D supplements, and they're like, it didn't help anything. So what I'm saying is we need the light. Whether or not it is the light making vitamin D that is the health benefit is completely up in the air. I don't believe it. You know, you guys hear about how the guy said, the one guy was saying that like when we breathe, we're not really exchanging gases. We're actually just taking an energy from the air. I thought that was interesting. I don't know how much I believe it, but still, why can't we just get light energy from the sun, and it doesn't have to do a damn thing with vitamin D? So, okay, Joe added, Planet Fitness has separate booths. Most are tanning beds, but they have another booth without UV that has lots of spectrum, including the infrared spectrum. You've been using that one. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been there. I just heard about it. I thought it was interesting. This is a nice one. Yep. I mean, you can do what you want. Like, okay, I am here to give people information. I consider myself a guide, a teacher. this was another one. I am teaching you how to fish. I'm not giving you fish. I am teaching you how to fish. I am teaching you how to make proper choices in your health so that when you go out into the world, you can just look around and like you can look at the menu and go, you don't have to have a food list of what's okay and what's not. You can just look at the foods that are in what you're going to eat and go, okay, yeah, I'm not doing that one. Not doing that one. Oh, that one looks okay. You don't have to have 10 food lists for all the different groups of foods. Joe said, teaching us how to fish and then to discard the fish because it's toxic. Yeah, don't eat fish. Don't eat fish or shellfish. You're putting mercury in your system. I don't care where the fish comes from. I could show you on hair tests. But I mean, you can do that if you want. Like if you're going to do something that goes against what I generally say, like if somebody's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have a coffee today and I don't have it any other time. I mean, I don't like, first of all, I don't care what you do. That's what I like. I mean, you can do that if you want. You can do whatever the hell you want. I don't care. I don't stress at all about what you do. Like sometimes people come to me and they're like apologetic. I'm like, Dr. Smith, I haven't been very good. And I'm like, I'm not here. I'm not like Ray Peat's mentor who had a diet cult and he would actually whip women who broke the diet. Ray Peat's mentor. He came up with the rice diet. Yeah, he whipped women who didn't go on the diet. Ladies, guys, I don't care what you do. You can eat whatever the hell you want. Whether you get better or not is on you. There's plenty of sick people in the world. There's not going to be any shortage of people that I can help. So if you want to do it, cool. If you don't, cool. I'm here to empower people to learn what to do for their health and how to evaluate things that they try out later and then go, I felt really good at the start, but now I'm feeling bad. Oh my gosh, it's the duration paradox, just like Dr. Smith said. And I realized that he probably would have told me not to take that. And I'm like, okay, we all got to learn the hard way sometimes. Okay. You can do that if you want to. Just don't tell anyone I said to do that. Yeah. There are certain things, certain practices that are high risk to reward that I will not endorse. Some people very vehemently suggest that I include certain things in the program, and I might decide that they are too complicated or the risk is not worth the reward. Folks, we have people who can't even go to the right blood draw clinic, and they can't even do a hair test right. And people want me to do complicated, complex, intense things to try to help them get better. And I'm like, no. I have a bigger responsibility to help people to not F themselves up. It's like first do no harm, right? First, don't give people really complicated things that they're going to probably mess up. People can't even get their soluble fiber right. I mean, God, I'm not going to be giving people complicated things that can have big contraindications and big complications because I'm responsible for far too many people to do that. Just don't tell anyone I said to do it because there's things that I will say I didn't say to do that. People come back to me and they're like, Doc, I did what you said not to do. And now seriously, I have people who come to my office hours and I'm like, I don't think you should. They're suggesting they want to try something. They went to another practitioner. They want to do this. And I'm like, I don't think you should do that. You can do what you want, but I wouldn't do it. Here's probably what's going to happen. And I tell them, and then they come back in a week or two and they're like, yeah, I tried that thing and exactly what you said was going to happen happened. And I'm like, well. So then, I'm okay with it happening once. However, when people come back and it's the definition of insanity, Doc, why I keep pounding my head on this wall and my head hurts. How do I make my head stop hurting? Stop pounding the wall with your head. Stop doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Okay? Learn from your mistakes. It's, or as the other saying that I do really like is, it's not a mistake unless one refuses to learn from it. If you learn from something, it's not a mistake. Forgive yourself. You didn't know. You made the error in decision-making, judgment, whatever. It was an error. You to not do that again. Then you have made progress. You now know something not to do again. So don't go and do it again. Okay, I think we're almost done with this page. Yes. This is just a funny one. I'm on that anti-Rockefeller, anti-Bill Gates diet. Yes, I would generally, if Bill Gates and the Rockefeller are advising something, I'm doing the opposite. Same thing with the World Health Organization generally. I just found out, actually, I retweeted somebody just this morning who was saying that, I forget which Rockefeller, but one of the earliest Rockefellers that kind of started Rockefeller medicine, he was actually a naturopath, and he didn't do any of the pharmaceutical stuff that he helped start. And I was like, really? Do as I say, not as I do. Isn't that hilarious? Maybe that's why there's still the homeopathic pharmacopoeia, why they haven't gotten rid of homeopathics in this country, because if they get rid of homeopathics, then maybe the bad guys who still use it aren't going to have what they want to use around. I always wonder when people are like, homeopathy, I can't believe it's still around. And I'm like, well, why haven't they gotten rid of it yet? Why haven't they? Why don't they just make it poof disappear? You can't do that. Why is there a U.S. homeopathic pharmacopoeia? So, Ramon, I will get to your super chat. I just want to finish this page. Okay. This is just the old remember my name. If you're going to go do that thing that I'm saying not to do, remember my name when it doesn't work out. Come back. I'll take you back. The Love Your Liver program will take you back as long as you admit you made the bad decision and you're not going to do that anymore. We are a very forgiving crew. We've all made the mistakes. I'm not very forgiving on Twitter. If you want to come on my Twitter and talk smack, then I just boot you out. I will give people a chance, though. I have had some people ask me if they can get back on. And I'm like, okay. So if people come back and they're, willing to admit that they were an ass, I'll let them back on. If they're not willing, good luck with your health. Because people are hearing seeing me get tagged all over Twitter nowadays. People are starting to notice. So things are going well. The momentum is building. But yeah, just remember my name. If you don't believe me right now, if you think I'm full of crap, how could this guy be so out there and so weird? And how could he be right and everybody else is wrong? Somebody's right out there. Somebody is right. Right? Somebody is probably right. If you look at what people are doing in both conventional and alternative mainstreams, it's not working. So are they right? You decide. And the last one for today. It's not going to end well. This is a classic duration paradox thing. Methylene blue as an example. I'm going to take this known toxic dye and it's going to be amazing. I'm going to take it forever. Yeah, it's not going to end well. Or the people, if you guys like, so for the carnivore crew, the nose to tail carnivores, you guys know there's no really long term, like 10 plus, 15 plus year carnivores who are nose to tail. All of the truly long term carnivore dieters are all muscle meat. all muscle meat. The 10, 15 years plus people. What did they figure out about nose to tail? Why did they ditch it? And then you got all these young buck nose to tail guys who are like, no, I'm going to be the best ever and I'll be the healthiest ever. And they're just like sucking down 10 plus eggs and eating liver and, butter and whatever other dairy they're choosing to do. And then they're eating meat with it. No fiber. They're just absorbing all those toxins all the time. Tons of fat to help absorb fat soluble, fat storable toxins. And they're not pooping much because there's not much to poop. So yeah, it's not going to end well. And they prove me right each time. And that's why there's no really long-term carnivores who are nose to tail. Because they break themselves. It's like vegans. Vegans break themselves all the time. So, Hadley says GAPS the worst ever. I always thought, GAPS. I always thought GAPS was really hilarious because, like, when I went to the present at the Weston Price Convention back in 2010 on nightshades, that was my topic. I was presenting on nightshades. I'm there and I'm walking around and I'm like looking around and I'm like, these people don't look healthy. Like, shouldn't I be seeing like some seriously healthy people? Because Weston Price has been around a long time. Where I either saw people who were really overweight or I saw people who were really skinny. And when we talk about messed up livers, what are the two types? Over types and under types. And I didn't know over and under types back then, but I'm walking around going, everybody's either like really skinny or heavy. And then I saw that there was the GAPS diet, which was like even more restrictive Weston Price. And I was like, wait, if the Weston Price diet is so good, why is there like a specialty more restricted diet called the GAPS that has like so many Weston Pricers doing it? I eventually figured it out. It's because it doesn't work and it makes people sick, which explained why I didn't see many healthy people at the convention and why there's a specialized GAPS diet. I had to save a guy's life from the GAPS diet that his wife put him on. I had to save his life. The guy was coming in and he was just wasting away. He was probably 130 pounds. And I'm like, dude, you need to eat. You need to eat some food. Like, no more bone broth. No more, like, eat some food. And he went and he started eating. He's like, oh, I feel so much better. And he put on 30 pounds, like, in a good way, super quick. And he was like, but my wife. And I'm like, I had to like hit him over the head with like, dude, you keep losing weight. Like, what's going to happen if you keep losing weight? You're not going to be here anymore. You have to change something. If you want to change something, here's another saying that's not on here. If you want to change something, you have to change something. Oh, and then the other one would be the keto one. What happens when your system runs out of ketones? Nothing. What happens when your system runs out of glucose? You're in a coma or you're dead. So which one's more important, right? All the ketone people are like, ketones. It's a survival food. It's not a good thing that you want to be running on every day. Some of it's fine, but you don't want to be purposely trying to run your system on it. And keto diet's losing steam. It's been losing steam for years. We're not made to run on high fat. I'm sorry. You guys, you may love the taste of fat because nature made it that way. So when we were to run into fat in the wilderness, when it wasn't full of fat storable toxins, we were on the verge of starvation practically every day. And so if you came across fat or honey, sugar, your body was like, eat as much of this as possible because we're on the verge of starvation. So please get as many calories as you can so you don't die. Nowadays, you got people thinking it's healthy to shove all this fat down themselves all the time, and it's just not. And sugar, too. All the magical sugars that are out there nowadays. Functional sugars. Okay. So, that is that for, gosh, it's already 1 o'clock. I guess I went over. So yeah, I have like 2.5 pages left. So maybe I'll do that next week. So I've got an easy show for next week. Okay. Um, let's go do, let me turn this off. There we go. I can do it. And then let me get to Ramon's. Okay, Ramon has the super chat. Thank you, Ramon. What's the best way of tanning or doing sauna? How much clothes are off? How long and how often and when to do each one? Thanks and Merry Christmas to you and all. Well, thank you and Merry Christmas to you too, Ramon. Merry Christmas Eve to everybody. I saw that the brisket was if you guys saw my brisket recipe, the rest of that brisket that we bought is defrosting on the counter right now. So that'll be fun. What is the okay, so Ramon, you asked that question in a way that I'm not a huge fan of, and I'll explain why. What is the best way? What is the optimal way? There is none. There is no best or optimal way. Best or optimal way is for like shysters who used words like protocol on the internet. Or as another way I'll put it, if somebody says, how many gallons of gas do I need to drive from here to Phoenix? And then somebody starts thinking and then they go, well, anybody with half a brain goes, well, wait, how many miles is it? What kind of car do you have? Which route are you taking? And they start finding all of these ways that could affect how many gallons of gas it takes to get from here to Phoenix. You know, it's about 100 miles, but do you have an economy car? Are you driving a Tahoe? Do you get good gas mileage or do you not? Are you taking detours? So all that stuff. So is there a best way? I mean, what is the best way of tanning? As you don't want to get burned. The more toxic you are, the more easily you will get burned. So see, all of a sudden, we just have this huge variable in there. The more toxic you are, the more easily you'll get burned. I have been going and using the tanning bed like 2 or 3 days a week for typically 7 to 8 minutes. Do I look like I tan? No. Am I worried about that? No. It means I have very few toxins. I can tell you my niacin flush, I take 2,500 milligrams a day right now of niacin, flush niacin. I hardly flush at all. So I don't have a lot of toxins in my skin and I don't have a lot of color because my skin is not full of toxins. Whereas if you have somebody who is more toxic, oh, and just so you know, the whole aldehyde thing, it's actually been said to not do sun tanning or tanning beds the day after you drink alcohol. What does alcohol turn into? Acetaldehyde. What do we talk about the sun or UV lights affecting in your skin? Aldehydes. Could those cause problems? Yes, you don't want to char aldehydes in your skin because they can get stuck there. That's sun damage. When you see sun damage, so 2 things. 1, you can only suntan or tanning bed or whatever, spurty, as much as you can without negative symptoms afterwards. How much is that for each person? I have no idea. Well, I mean, I can't have an idea because it'd be different for every person. Also, if you are noticing changes in your skin that are associated with sun damage, you're doing too much. You're too toxic in your skin and you're charring stuff in there. So that's too much. So what can we do? We can say, what is too much? Okay. So if you feel bad or you're noticing skin changes, like I'm not going to be having a bunch of skin changes because I'm not even getting color on me. But that's what we see as people get less toxic. The people who tend to tan more will tend to see more of the skin damage and the skin changes because they go together. Because tanning is not, tanning itself, like getting a tan is not as good for you as people think. I'm still waiting for somebody to show me a study that actually shows that the amount of tan you get is actually good for you. See, nobody said that. People are like, tan is healthy. And I'm like, do you have any evidence of that. Because actually melanin binds to toxic metals in your skin. Did you know that? Go look up melanin toxic metals, melanin heavy metals. Melanin grabs on to toxic metals in your skin. So if you're tanning a lot, what does that probably mean you have a lot of in your skin? Oops. So, sauna, again, you need to make sure you're getting your electrolytes. You need to make sure you are, the best way, if you're going to do sauna, again, this all has to be regulated per the individual. If you're going to do sauna anyway, and you're going to do flush niacin, then it would be to do your flush niacin, then do the protocol, the Gulf War veteran study was do your flush niacin, do 20 to 30 minutes of mild to moderate cardio, and then get in the sauna. And they used a low temperature sauna. I think it was 140 degrees to 160. It was not a high temperature sauna. But they would stay in there for 2 to 3 hours. Now, most of us have a life, and we're not going to be doing 2 to 3 hours in sauna. So what I would do when I was doing this, I haven't done it for a while. I just haven't had the drive to do it. They also changed the saunas at my gym from infrared saunas into just the old standard, like the little box that heats up the rocks and whatever. And I was like, nah. And then everybody at the gym wants to crank up the heat too damn high. That's not the point. The point is not to see how much you can suffer. And then there's also idiots at the gym who are like listening to their phone on full volume in there with you. Like, if you're one of those people, I don't like you. Don't listen to your phone at full volume when other people are around, or you're just a dick. So, I'm in a mood today. Sauna. You should, it doesn't matter how much clothes you wear in a sauna, really. The thing about if you're wearing clothes that you sweat into, it's holding that sweat against you so you could reabsorb it. If you're going to sauna, first thing you need to know is you need to shower afterwards with some soap. Especially clean your armpits and your groin, because those are the areas that have the fat-soluble toxins come out. I forget if it's the eccrine, sweat glands, where they put out some fat storable toxins out your armpits and your groin. That's why your armpits and your groin smell different than other areas. So you absolutely want to have soap to wash those areas after you get out. You want to rinse off your whole body, but you want to soap at minimum your armpits and your groin. In terms of time, it's just like, it all depends. How hot is the sauna? The more toxic people are, the less heat tolerance they have. And the more they'll get wrecked if they do too much. So you start slow, a minute or 2 or 5, and see how it goes. And then you can decide to go up from there. How much exercise? What's mild to moderate cardio for a person? I don't know. It might be a slow walk for somebody who's really sick, and they might only do 5 minutes, because more than that would wreck them. So you are trying to find out for yourself what amounts and intensity of these things you tolerate without feeling worse. Or then you get into, if you do feel worse, then you get to ask yourself, is the juice worth the squeeze? Are the benefits I'm feeling worth the suffering? How often to do each one? The more toxic somebody is, the less often they're going to tolerate it. The more toxic somebody is, the less often they're going to tolerate it. The more toxic people are, the more likely they're going to get into too strong of a bile dump from things like heat or light or exercise or sweating. So they can't take as much. I wish there's no optimal. That's why I say this work. That's a saying that I'll get to next week, but this work is not for everyone, and it never will be. Because it's required that people think and use their brain and observe themselves and then say, oops, that wasn't good. Don't do that. So, I mean, sauna, when I was doing, I mean, you could, the sauna protocol was like every day for 8 weeks. The Gulf War, if you look up like Gulf War, nicotinic acid, PubMed, you'll find the paper. But it was every day for like 6 or 8 weeks, or maybe it was 12 weeks. I don't know. And then they escalated their flush niacin doses up to like 5 grams a day. So twice as much as I'm taking on a day now. But they went up slow. And then they just did the mild to moderate, or I think they said they did moderate cardio. So they were trying to keep their heart rate, I don't know, 135, 140, something like that. So, but it's meant to be sustainable. And these were like Gulf War vets. They were probably retired or on benefits, and they didn't work. That's why they could do 2 to 3 hours of sauna a day on top of 20 to 30 minutes of cardio. I mean, those things, there's people out there on Twitter, they're like, I did this protocol. And I'm like, bro, you got time? Like, you have 2 to 3 hours a day to just sit in sauna? Maybe they can work on their phone or whatever. I don't know. But it's just, okay, the more often, like I kind of have decided now, I kind of started liking tanning. Not because I'm tan, but because it actually helps my mood, which is what light is supposed to do, right? Now I live in Tucson, so I don't have to. I could be just going outside with my shirt off right now. We're in like a record heat thing where, you know, it's like still 78 degrees outside and I'm wearing a tank top and shorts. Sorry for you guys living in the snow. I'm sorry. But it's just easier for me when I'm working a lot to just go and do the tanning bed rather than spend a bunch of time outside. So I've been limiting myself. I've been saying, this is what I said to myself. I said, I'm not going to go more than every other day. I probably go 2 or 3 times in a week currently. Is that going to change? At some point it's going to change. Yeah. But there is no optimal. There is no perfect. Remember, perfect is the enemy of good enough. Good enough gets the job done. People who insist on perfection and optimal tend to not get the job done because they're like paralysis analysis kind of thing. So something is better than nothing, but then still you don't want to overdo it. So if something is overdoing it, then that's too much. So I hope that helps, Ramon. Yeah, sleeping in the sauna. Spirit said maybe sleep in the sauna. I'm not sleeping in the sauna. No way. That sounds really dangerous to me. And also, okay, I'll just be like our sauna. Or no, sometimes I go in the steam room. They have a steam room and a sauna. So I actually like to go do like, this was just what I was doing when I ended up. I was doing 10 to 15 minutes in the steam room, and then I would do like 10 to 15 minutes in the sauna. But the steam room is steam and water everywhere. So if you lay on I always thought about this, if I lay down on the tile, you're just soaking up everybody else's toxins through your skin. I was like, that's disgusting. I don't want any of that. So yeah, that's about it for today. I hope we got the show off. I had to do it all by myself. Joe was helping on the back side, helping me with some Telegram messages, but and putting some stuff in the chat. But otherwise, I'm a big boy. I did it all myself. Okay. So the plugs, okay, right? So our website, nutritiondetective.com. You can find our supplements there. If you want to work with me or one of our other practitioners, you can find that under the consultation tab. There's also the Love Your Liver program, which is members.nutritiondetective.com. That is everything that I don't go over with people in a consult. That's the diet stuff. That's the detox stuff. That's all that stuff. Then there is, if you wanted to find me on social media, NutriDetect, NutriDetect on Twitter. That's my place. And yeah, everybody's saying Merry Christmas. Oh, thank you, Joe. Joe said, well done. So thank you. Merry Christmas and Merry Christmas Eve and all that stuff to everybody. Hope you have a good time with family. And if you don't, I hope next year is better. And it's just one day. It doesn't mean everything, but do work on connect. If you're not around loved ones, make sure to connect with them. Okay. Reach out, give them a call, talk to them, let them know you're still around. You get to hear their voice. They get to hear your voice. It's good for you. So I will see you all next time, and I'll do more of these next episode. Okay. Bye now.